Do you want to know the best structure for how to discipline a narcissistic child? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, neurodiversities, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about the complexities of a narcissistic child. In this video, we're going to talk about narcissistic tendencies that can make parenting difficult. And then I'm going to share with you 7 strategies that you can use when parenting your narcissistic child to be more effective. So the first thing that we need to talk about is that sometimes we think our child is narcissistic, but they're actually not. So there are different characteristics that a person has to have in order to be considered an actual narcissist. There are 9 characteristics in the DSM-5 that can be classified as narcissistic characteristics. A person has to have 5 of the 9, so more than 50%, in order to actually be diagnosed as a narcissist. And misdiagnosis happens all the time, especially in children who are a little bit more naturally selfish and manipulative, and some of those things that we see as characteristics of a narcissistic person. So why am I telling you this? Because I don't know if your child has actually been diagnosed with narcissism. Most children do not get diagnosed as narcissistic. But sometimes as parents, we think we know enough about narcissism and tendencies to know that our child is displaying some narcissistic tendencies. And then there is the occasional, very rare circumstance where a child actually is diagnosed as a narcissist. Either way, I'm going to share 7 strategies that you can use today to help in parenting a child that has those narcissistic tendencies or might be an actual diagnosed narcissist. So let's talk about some of these tendencies that a narcissistic child might have. They might be self-centered, only thinking about themselves all the time. They might have a lack of empathy for others, which means they just don't care. They're going to do whatever they're going to do to get what they want. They might exhibit divisiveness, so trying to put people against each other. In the narcissistic world, this is like the flying monkey situation where you go, I'm going to put that person against that person because that will help me. If they hate them and I hate them, we're all a lot better, right? So at least that's what they think, okay? So they actually go around creating wars. They might actually lack an ability to actually govern themselves and control themselves in the inside. So their go-to for problem solving is, how can I manipulate the outside to solve my problem? Not what do I need to acknowledge and control on the inside. In fact, sometimes they don't even have a very good self-awareness about that there is anything going on the inside. They assume it's all on the outside. This is one of the big problems with narcissism. And then probably one of the biggest things is that they just want to have control over it all. They do a lot of control seeking. They want to control the dialogue. They want to control the actions. They want to control the outcomes. They want to control the emotions that are happening. So they'll do things to make you so, so happy. And then they do things to make you so, so mad. And then just when you think you can't ever trust them again, they do something so sweet and so kind because they like to control all of those outcomes. They don't bond oftentimes very well with people. And so because of that inability to bond, they play with emotional responses. And so you could have a child that's starting to develop that. Now, we could get into a lot of reasons of why a person might develop narcissism, but the number one reason is that they are trained by another narcissist. So if they have one parent or a sibling or a friend who's narcissistic, they could start to develop those tendencies of narcissism just to survive. Or maybe to please the other person, because you could be an ally or a target of a narcissist and still become a narcissist. So that's usually how people develop it. There might be other things that we could talk about, but that's probably a video for another day. Let's get into some of these strategies that you can use to solve the problem. So if you've already subscribed to this channel, then you know that I love sharing skills and things that you can do hands-on in the minute to help solve your problems. Handling a situation like narcissistic tendencies or behaviors in a child is not a quick fix, okay? I'm just going to tell you that. There are some things that might seem like a quick fix when I talk about them, but this isn't a quick fix. We're talking about the way a person processes, the way that you process, how to get through to them, keep the appropriate boundaries, do the training that's necessary, and keep everybody safe all at the same time. For years, I did therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens. I brought youth into my home ages 12 to 18. Some of them had narcissistic tendencies. It was hard. Just to even connect and to know that they care sometimes, you know? You just want them to care about other people and they don't act like they do. So I understand where you're coming from, and I just want you to know this is a long process and you're probably going to need support. And even though I'm going to share some things right now with you that I think are going to be really, really helpful, I want you to know that it's probably not going to be everything, okay? Because I teach for 3 solid days on stuff like this, and I have courses that are like 24 hours of training. There's a community of people where I answer questions every week and that kind of stuff. So find yourself in at least the TSG community, but maybe taking some of the full training so that you get all of the nuts and bolts that you need and the support as you're going along. But let's get started. Okay, number 1 strategy. Separate the person from the behavior. This is so important. You cannot take things personally. You've got to be able to stay calm. They can't affect you, which means that emotionally you have to be a little bit untouchable. That doesn't mean you don't care about people. You do. You care them. You love them. You tell them how much you love them. You give them a hug and that type of a thing. But you do not allow that behavior to be something that you take personally. They cannot manipulate you. If they are allowed to manipulate you, it will not stop, and you will not have good mental health either. So one thing that I used to tell myself was, this is just a behavior. This isn't the person. I literally told myself that out loud on a regular basis. This is just a behavior, Nicholeen. It's not the person. And the person that they are going to become is a whole lot more than just this behavior. So I don't need to take it personally. Tell yourself that. It's powerful. Number 2 strategy, use a calm, predictable teaching framework. So this means it's got to be the same every time. They are manipulators. You cannot manipulate. If you want the upper hand with a manipulator, you don't manipulate. Which means that you don't try to throw little jabs and little surprises. No surprises. The best thing you can do for a narcissistic child is say, okay, here's the skills. You need to learn how to follow instructions, accept no answers and criticism, accept consequences, disagree appropriately. Here's the steps to all of these skills. If you don't do any of those steps, this is how I will correct you. You will earn these negative consequences. It will be the same every time. If you go completely out of instructional control, you get violent, whatever, this is how we will handle it. They just have to know. Because then what else can they do to manipulate? They may try to self-harm. That can happen. Some narcissistic people will go to that level. Okay. I might question whether it's truly narcissism at that point. It might be like sociopath. But anyway, they might go to that level. Okay. If they do, then guess what? Then you just say, okay, well, it looks like you're leaning toward this type of a behavior. We didn't cover that before. But if you try to self-harm, here's how we'll handle it. You just let them know, and then you stick with it every time, and you do not emotionally engage in any of it. You can emotionally engage when you're praising them, when you're telling them the good things. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to teach them how to interact with people, get rid of those things that are manipulative. They are not going to help you, and just start trying to care and please people and stuff. When you're talking about true narcissism and you talk about caring, it's like they don't even go together. People can act like they care. They can say all the right words to caring. They can dramatize a caring. But you just know they really don't, especially if they're really narcissists. And that's so hard because you're trying to point them toward a direction that seems so incredibly foreign to them. But you know what? They can even fake caring over time, even if they don't feel it as deeply as everybody else. Number 3, Teach calmness as power. The narcissistic person is constantly looking for the power. That's why they're doing all the different manipulations and the little techniques that they put together for themselves. Teach them about the power of calm. And do you know how you do it? You be calm yourself. I actually have an entire book. It's a new book that just came out called The Power of Calm. I even have a children's book series called The Calm Crew, brand new book series just coming out. So look for those because those could be beneficial. In fact, there's a full calm bundle that you might want to get into to help with your calmness so that you are not swayed. If you have calmness, then you are the example of calmness that they need. And you need skills and strategies for how to handle problems and maintain calmness. You need the scripts and the words to say. And they need to know what those are ahead of time. That's where the predictability comes in. Then they can't manipulate it. So teach them the skills and strategies for calmness too. Let them see how powerful they are with you because none of their manipulations work. Next, teach honest self-assessment. Easier said than done with a narcissist. I realize that. However, they can learn to go, you know what, it's actually okay to take a look at me and to find what is it that I'm hoping to accomplish? What is it that I'm doing? Is what I'm doing actually helping me get toward what I accomplish? This type of strategy conversation that they might have with you or even an internal dialogue that they can learn how to have with themselves should be actually very stimulating. They're very smart because they're manipulating. They're playing strategy all the time. Teach them to play strategy on themselves. Their battle that they're really having is not a battle with you. It's a battle with themselves. So we've got to turn the analysis focus on themselves so that they can start to see and fine tune and work on themselves instead of just trying to manipulate everything around them. Next, set empathy building boundaries. So what does that mean? When a person doesn't care, when they're unkind, obviously you're going to correct them because that doesn't go with your family vision. So if you're a TSG family, you understand teaching self-government, like I teach in my courses and trainings, you know the power of that family vision and how that unites everyone and helps build those relationships. Well, when they are working against that family vision, they have to be corrected. But we need to make sure that we bring in other empathy building things, such as apologizing and explaining not just that they're sorry, but why they're sorry. Maybe explain what they learned from the situation too. Maybe they also would do some service for the other person. So those negative consequences, using work that serves the family is a really good idea. You shouldn't be taking things away from them. That's just manipulative. They need to have the opportunity to accept their consequences, which means they need actions to do. And if those actions serve other people, all the better. Next, avoid power struggles like the plague. Do not engage in power struggles, whether they are passive sadness power struggles, whether they're anger power struggles, whether they're debates. Do not engage. There are appropriate ways to communicate. Disagreeing appropriately is the self-government skill that they need to use if they want to talk to you about something. They need to use their 4 basic skills. You need to be a stickler about that. You've got to keep the roles in the right place. Otherwise, it all falls apart. And there are skills and steps that you can use, that you can learn these scripts, these self-government scripts to help you know exactly what to say in the moment so that you don't get sucked into a power struggle. In this family, we value unity. In this family, we believe in being united and supporting and loving one another. Those types of principle statements are more meaningful to a person who is narcissistic. And this is because they build identity. So you might say, yeah, they're not going to care if we are this type of a family or that type of a family. If they see themselves as connected to and identifying with the family, if they care about the family, they feel like the family cares about them, then yeah, they will. They'll take the family on as their allies, and they'll point some of that other narcissistic energy maybe outside of the family or on other people. It's not really the ideal either, but we want to preserve that family dynamic. So teach principles, teach them how to see the identity in the family. Don't just push the identity on them. Let them buy into it too. Have those conversations about what type of a family you want to be 20 years in the future and go through that family vision process that's outlined in the Teaching Self-Government training materials. Help them get a sense of connectedness with the group so that they want to even try to preserve that because it feels good and happy to them. I don't know whether your child is truly narcissistic or not. I would suspect that many people watching the video are just concerned about that type of behavior or what seems like that type of behavior. But either way, you can follow all of the strategies that I have suggested, but it takes a little bit more than just knowing what the strategies are. So I highly recommend going to teachingselfgovernment.com. Find the Calm Parenting Toolkit that is completely free for you. That's a good start. It won't give you all of the skills that you need, but it will help you with some of your calmness skills. And it will help you prepare your head to then learn all of the other scripts and skills that you will need to solve all those problems in the moment. Learn as much as you can about controlling yourself because that's what they need to learn most, and they can learn it from you.